Today on Aging Untold, osteoporosis is often called the silent disease until a fracture occurs.
It's really important specifically to prevent it because the effects after a fall or a fracture are so devastating.
We'll explore how to keep your bones strong and prevent injury. Plus, more adults are aging alone by choice or circumstance.
And I'm saying, go for it. You're a solo ager, enjoy the heck out of it.
We'll discuss how solo agers can plan ahead and thrive independently. Then, a little humor and healing.
Yo, where we going?
Meet the comedian who's inspiring others on her caretaking journey. Experts with advice and solutions. You're watching Aging Untold with Aging Well Coach Catherine Ambrose, gerontologist Sam Craddock, aging expert Amy O'Rourke, and board-certified physician Dr. Ray Rogers. We're all getting older. It's about time we talked about it.
Welcome to Aging Untold. Osteoporosis weakens bones silently, and for adults over 50, the threat of a major fracture rises steadily with age. Research shows low bone density is strongly linked to hip fracture risk, especially after age 80. Dr. Ray, we hear about osteoporosis all the time. What is it, and how should older adults think about screening and prevention?
Well, osteoporosis is where the bones become very porous and it makes them very weak and fragile. And as we get older, we have thinning of the bones and that. And we call it the silent disease because you start to have bone loss way before you have symptoms. And so the bones are getting thinner, they're getting weaker, you're more fragile. And then you'll see people just with a simple fall will have a fracture. Or even just bending over, you can see things.
Or a spiral fracture that causes the fall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you'll see that all the time. And so as we get older, you have to remember we're losing muscle, that's sarcopenia. When you lose muscle, you lose strength, you lose balance. And so it makes it so much easier, it makes you more prone to that. And there's a spectrum. So the spectrum is when people get a bone density scan done to evaluate for bones, most of the time they say about age 65. However, anybody who has not making hormones, menopausal, that's the biggest risk factor. Although insurance a lot of times won't cover it because you may have had a hysterectomy, don't have your ovaries, you're menopausal, you're at an increased risk for osteoporosis. So many people, if they have that risk there, they'll look at the bone density. There's a spectrum osteopenia based off of the numbers prior to osteoporosis. But it's really important specifically to prevent it because the effects after a fall or a fracture are so devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So losing hormones then can start this cascade effect where you start losing bone, losing muscle, you start losing bone. And so
Yep, that's not the only risk factors.
Oh,
you
absolutely not.
You also have family history, low body weight, smoking, heavy alcohol use, low activities, calcium, certain meds, long-term steroid use can lead to this. So we think about it as a women's only, but it's not always.
Right.
I mean,
and
yes,
thyroid, low thyroid.
Thyroid.
Huge.
So, we as women, we're more prone, but men do develop this as well.
And I think if you understand kind of what's happening in this process, you have this imbalance. You have these osteoblasts, these cells that build muscle. Think of it like build osteoblasts, and then you have osteoclasts, which are breaking down muscle. So as we get older, we have more osteoclasts than we have osteoblasts. So things like inflammation and things like that will spear osteoclasts, so they're breaking down, and you're not building. So you need hormones to help stabilize. You need growth factors, which those osteoblasts has those receptors to help build the bone, and you need the nutrients. You need vitamin D, but you need vitamin D along with K2 so that calcium stays in the bones. And magnesium is huge. 50% of the bones have magnesium. So when you lose magnesium, you have fragile bone.
So here's the untold truth. Let's just be frank. The untold truth is that a lot of the prevention is not covered by your insurance. A lot of the better prevention may not be covered by your insurance. People don't want to hear that. But exercise, strength building is free. That really being your own coach, your own advocate to help keep your muscle, keep your bone, really important. And I often say that one fall can change it all. If your goal is to stay independent and maybe stay in your current home, you want to do everything you can to prevent the fall, because that can instantly change everything for
And I
you.
think, Amy, you were saying something, we were talking, and you were telling me about some of the genetics and things that you had read. I thought that was very interesting.
Well, I was thinking about how to prevent it, you know, and genetic testing, and is there value in that, and should you talk to your healthcare provider? So it's like a big thing. But when I was thinking about genetic testing, I thought, should I do that? Is it valuable? I thought, well, it probably is. I'll defer to you. What do you think?
Well, there's some genes that they're testing for that make people more increased risk for osteoporosis. Like there's a gene that's in the vitamin D receptor. And so when you have these miscues and all that, that makes you more prone. But the other thing, because we're seeing on the rise, is autoimmunity. And so there is a part of an entity of osteoporosis that's autoimmune osteoporosis. And I think that's why we're seeing that, because if you have that's genetic. So,
And we know there's a family history. We know that it can be a family history thing. So if you've developed osteoporosis, then the main thing would be trying to prevent the falls.
absolutely.
Ask for that bone density screening and ask for the screening to find out if this is a problem.
Right, and then know that maybe some of the traditional treatment that you would be better served to do more than that. Amy?
The National Osteoporosis Foundation. Go there. It's a wealth of information, both support groups, clinical trials, et cetera. So if we're throwing you a lot of information here, go there for some follow-up.
There's a lot of other good resources as well, like the Bone Coach and just different things. So there's a lot of good resources. Keep asking questions. That's important.
Yeah.
And we'll be back with more on Aging Untold.
Coming up, blending comedy with care. Hear how one woman is using humor to help others navigate the challenges of caregiving. But first, aging alone doesn't have to mean aging unsupported.
Set up weekly touch points and find another solo ager and say, hey, I'll be your person if you'll be my person.
We're talking smart planning for solo agers. You can watch Aging Untold anytime online. Go to aginguntold.com or subscribe to the Aging Untold YouTube channel for more.
More adults are aging without a spouse, partner, or close family nearby, sometimes called solo agers. According to the Pew Research Center, 27% of adults ages 60 and older in the U.S. live alone. That's compared with 16% of adults worldwide. With that independence comes unique needs around planning, healthcare, and social support. Amy, what should solo agers consider as they plan their future?
So Dr. Sarah Geber, I want to make sure I get her name right, 10 years ago coined the term solo agers. And women outlive men, so this is a women's issue. I think men marry faster than women do, and I'm saying go for it. You're a solo ager, enjoy the heck out of it. Do what you want to do, go have fun, love your freedom, gather it up and go for it. And just know that when you're vulnerable physically or mentally, it's at that point that you're going to need some kind of support. In terms of financial decision making and healthcare decision making, those are the two things that I'd want to get squared away. But the bulk of me says, I'm so happy for them.
Right. Well, a solo ager isn't really alone unless they're unprepared. So, you know, very, very, very few people live in complete and total isolation. And so you can join a reoccurring community, you can go to church, you can pick a hobby, quilting, crafting, something, set up weekly touch points and find another solo ager and say, hey, I'll be your person if you'll be my person. And then establish all of the paperwork and the follow-up and who's going to take care of the dog or the cat or whatever when you're in the hospital. Because you've got to have the planning for this to work.
And it's not really healthy to be in isolation.
No,
just
it is
because
not.
you're
No.
solo, they're solo agers, but they're not unsupported. And that's a
Right.
big difference.
Well
And
said.
so, people don't want to live life alone.
Right.
So they engage, like you said, the different volunteers and things like that. And to know, some people as they get older, they just kind of retract into themselves. And that really isn't healthy. So
it causes big decline. And I think sometimes people think they like being alone, but that for them to know that that isolation is very risky. There's a lot of risk. There's actually brain shrinkage that can occur from being socially isolated. And also I worry about people not really feeding themselves well. Sometimes it's hard when you're by yourself to cook for yourself and to really put focus into your protein and everything else that you should be eating.
there's a lot of things that you don't do. It's that same concept of lose it because you're not using it. When you're by yourself, you become complacent.
You're out there and you're an introvert. We're not talking about your personality. We're talking about that basic human need to really connect with another human being.
Right.
So you really want to think about planning your continuum of care. How am I going to take care of myself?
That's right.
Where do I want to go next if this doesn't work? How am I going to manage? It's really, really important. We'll be back with more solutions on Aging Untold.
Coming up, get ready for a blast from the past. We're taking you into a one-of-a-kind museum where you can relive your childhood memories. But first,
I really didn't get a chance to address my emotions or my thoughts or my feelings.
you'll see how a woman is using her voice to provide caretakers with inspiration and a chance to laugh. Find more Aging Untold content on your favorite social platform. You can follow Aging Untold on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok now.
In Atlanta, a woman whose parents played a role in the civil rights movement is taking a page from their journey to inspire others. Janae Smith started a podcast that blends humor with the realities of caring for someone with Alzheimer's disease. Sawyer Bussey gives us a listen.
They say that grief takes time.
A massive heart attack with no warning.
I guess that's true if time is something the universe affords you.
My mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's less than a year after my father died.
For many, trauma happens back to back.
I really didn't get a chance to address my emotions or my thoughts or my feelings.
And that means life can become dark.
And how long can you be sad and not get sick of it?
Some look to humor as a remedy.
Yo, where we going?
Trauma brought Janae Smith to comedy. She lost her father suddenly and then became a caregiver for her mother, who was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, all within a year.
My parents were both student civil rights activists, and all I heard was, if you see something wrong, say something, do something.
She started a podcast called Parenting Up. She's blending her love of comedy into the realities of becoming a caregiver to someone with Alzheimer's. Janae starts most of her episodes with story time, so this is from her latest episode.
It was a cool morning. I was out for a walk. The sun was still sleeping. Ha! Y'all know I'm lying.
Janae connected with the Alzheimer's Association Georgia chapter early on in her mother's diagnosis to get support. She says it was one of the first times she realized she had a whole community supporting her. She's encouraging listeners to get connected with their local chapters as well.
There was pain that led me to the laughter. Humor heals.
Humor heals, and I just love her approach. I love the style, like the logo and the look of her podcast, and the little clip we heard was so funny. And I just think that she's healing people and herself through what she's sharing.
There was a lot of moving parts in that for me.
It was.
The mom's diagnosis so quickly after the dad's sudden death, the sudden loss, tells me that that was the onset for her, that was the trigger.
Yeah.
And then the fact that the daughter said, I didn't have time to grieve. I didn't have time to process before I became the caregiver.
And now she's grieving again.
And and now she's grieving again.
Yeah.
And she's grieving what her mom and what her mom's going through. So a lot of moving parts in it, and then to take it to the stage and go into humor and to do a podcast.
Like she said, she's tired of being sad.
Yeah.
So she's found a solution, and she's found more purpose. And then I really liked how she encouraged others to get involved with Alzheimer's Association in your area.
Me
and all
too.
that.
And I loved, how long can you be sad before you're sick of it?
Right, it was well said. And I think about the vision that she's really setting to make this a common thing, to listen, oh, that's what she did and she got humor from that. And like other podcasts could be popping up and making it just like, this is something we listen to and share with others, and a broader sense of community. You can have it in person and you can have it online with the comedians.
So I think a lot of people would just shrivel up and just say, "Whoa, it's me."
Oh,
You know?
yeah, it happens all the time. But she said something really profound, and what everyone needs to know at that moment. When she connected, she realized she wasn't alone.
Yeah.
And I think so many of our caregivers, so many of our family members that are going through this, that are managing and helping someone with any type of dementia, they feel so lonely in it. And there are so many of you out there. We just need to connect the dots to fit you together so you don't feel that.
Right, because the woe is me will never serve. As long as you've got that victim mentality and you're committed to the victimhood, you're going to stay sad longer.
Right.
And so what did she do? She went out there to help other people, and then she helped herself through
Right.
that. I love
From-
those parents.
I do too. And
They-
from mom and dad talking in her ear, do something, do something.
Yes,
Loved it.
And that's
they
what she's doing.
prepared her
She's doing
perfectly.
After the break, a celebration of pop culture.
We get people that'll fly out and they'll be here open to close.
We'll show you a destination where you can experience aisle after aisle of your favorite pinball games. You can watch Aging Untold anytime online. Go to aginguntold.com or subscribe to the Aging Untold YouTube channel for more.
The sound of pinball machines might bring to mind your childhood glee from trips to the arcade. Joe Vithiathil explores a unique museum in Oregon where you just might find your favorite game.
On an otherwise quiet block, a loud, vibrant, playful memory waits around every corner.
This thing just keeps going and going, man. Good grief.
Next Level is a museum, arcade, and celebration of all things pop culture. At its center, one of the largest collections of pinball machines in the world.
Whoa, that's like totally rad.
There's something very tactile about pinball. So the actual flipping of the buttons and the feeling the kinetic energy of the ball just has a different feel to it.
It all began as a private collection up until about 6 years ago when the owners decided that they should put these machines to good use. So they built out this interactive museum where you can play and learn.
You have games I've never seen before.
For example, this pool-themed machine, one of just 10 that was made in the entire world. Or this one, designed by former NASA employees where the ball orbits around different obstacles.
This is actually kind of cool.
Yeah, so this would be just one of less than 1,000 pieces they made of this.
All told, there are 238 pinball machines, the fourth largest collection in the world, combined with 265 stand-up arcade games.
If you stacked all of our pinball machines and arcade games on top of one another, we'd be taller than Burj Khalifa, which is the world's tallest building.
But the thing about Next Level is that there's a lot more to see than just games. In fact, just about every inch of this 20,000 square foot facility is filled with just about any collectible you can imagine. Comic books, movie posters, albums, action figures, TV trays, not to mention exactly 3,142 different lunch boxes. And if you want to see all of this, leave the quarters at home. You just pay a flat fee of $20, and then you can see and play whatever you want as much as you want.
That's what's so fun about the place is, you forget about the game that you had in your childhood until you see it, and then you get this really cool reaction.
Speaking of which, I played this game, roller games, every day when I was in 8th grade. Oh my gosh.
So we get people that'll fly out, this is their vacation, to come to Hillsboro, Oregon, and they'll be here open to close Thursday to Sunday.
So just remember, history isn't always drab and dusty. Sometimes it can be colorful, loud, and have you bouncing off the wall, whether you win or lose.
Oh, come on. Nothing has changed.
Wow, Pop Culture Museum. I love that. That takes me back to 7th and 8th grade. We used to walk to the mall. That was a long time ago.
Oh, here we go.
Because we're all getting older. My mind immediately went to like Vegas. Like today, if you're playing machines and you don't have the thrill of yanking it down.
You're absolutely right. They've done that in the casinos.
Bring it back.
Bring it back. We want to pull the
It's
levers.
not
We
the
want to touch the
same.
buttons.
But
We
just
object.
but the reaction time and all that, as you get older, you move slower. But now it's like, I can do this again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it all comes back to you,
It does,
right?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like riding a bike.
I could definitely go play some pinball for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
sure.
I think that sounds fun.
I related to him when he goes, "Oh, nothing's changed."
changed.
That was my story.
You weren't that great at it, but you still had fun.
It was fun to
Yeah.
watch the kids that were really great playing it too. So it was just fun to socialize. in
And
the 7th
laughter
and
is
8th grade.
just such a great health tip.
Yeah. And today, you can get that if you stay plugged into cohorts, people that grew up the same time you did. So stay engaged. We're all getting older, and it's about time we talked about it. Until next time on Aging Untold.
On the next Aging Untold, saving a loved one from immense suffering.
And if you know where to look and you know what to look for, you can prevent these.
We'll tell you how to spot the early warning signs of pressure sores and the steps you can take as a caregiver to protect them.